All right, let me get this light on over here because we got ourselves a lesson today that we're going to learn, and it's kind of an easy, simple lesson, but it's a restoration lesson. And this is where you get into that real hardcore concourse style restoration. And what we're talking about here, we're talking about painting hubcaps. Now, I've made several videos on how to paint your hubcaps on these old Chevy trucks. You know, when it's a two-tone hubcap, and you would paint it white, and then you'd paint the Chevy emblem red, and this, that, and the other. I don't even know if it's loaded on my YouTube channel yet, but I did make a video of how to do that. And this little video set is about how to paint your hubcaps when you got chrome hubcaps.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So, what do we got here? What do these go on?
Mercedes.
Right, but what kind is it? Do you remember? Because you're the one that went and picked that car out 15, 17 years ago for that guy.
I don't know, but it looks like a little baby Rolls Royce.
It's a baby Rolls Royce, a 1952 Mercedes-Benz.
It's a cool looking
Remember,
car.
you went all the way down to El Paso or something.
Place, yeah.
Matter of fact, you're the one that actually found the car for the guy. And then you went down there and picked it up. We found it on the internet.
You found it.
Did I find it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we found this car on the internet for the guy, and it was like 16 years ago or something.
It was
like
a long time ago. I don't even.
And you went all the way down there to pick it up for him, and then he drove it for a couple of years, and then he completely tore the whole car apart.
It's in a billion pieces.
Well, it was. It's almost done now.
Oh, is it?
16 years later. But we're getting to the final wrap-up on this car that he's restoring, this old 52 Mercedes.
Yeah.
And what happened is he went and got his hubcaps chrome-plated. Now, let me tell you something about chrome plating. The chrome shop out here in Dallas charged him $100 a hubcap to chrome plate these. That's a lot of money. So if you're looking to get chrome plating done, beware. It's very expensive.
Yeah, and then he's gonna mess up the chrome by painting it? What's up with
No,
that?
that's factory OEM.
Oh.
Okay, the center of them is painted. Basically almost the same color as the car.
Okay.
All right, the only difference between the hubcaps and the car is if you got a metallic paint on the car,
well, maybe
you got to match it with a solid color paint for the hubcaps, because you don't want to put metallic paint on the hubcaps. That's another thing. When you're going to go ahead and paint your hubcaps, you got to use a solid color. You can't have any metallic paint in it because it won't stick. What were you going to ask?
powder coating.
Okay, how are you going to powder coat? How are you going to powder coat that hubcap in the center right here, and then leave all this chrome plated? You can't. It's impossible. It won't work.
Oh, well, I was thinking
Okay.
they could, you know, powder coat it the two-tone color.
Okay.
Powder coat it chrome.
But you don't understand. This is chrome.
I know. Don't they have a color chrome in powder
I don't know if
coating?
they. I don't think they do. That wouldn't look right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a factory spec paint job on these hubcaps, and Minnie the body shop girl is going to show us the easy way to do it, but it's an extensive, intense job doing it to tape them off. And then I'm going to walk you through what it takes to paint them so the paint will stick to the chrome and won't peel off. But that's another step down the line. What we're doing right now, though, is we're showing everybody how to take those off. What's going on with our blue tape? Because that's the normal way that most people would.
Yeah, a lot of people want to use this blue tape because it's like
Made for fine line stuff.
Yeah, and it curves.
Well, go ahead.
real-
Show us how you would do
I mean,
it if you used blue
if you
tape.
used it, yeah, it would be nice and easy because you can just get it right there on the edge and then just guide it around, and it'd be really quick and easy. But you see what I'm doing? I'm pulling the tape.
Now, what kind of tape is that? What's that made out of?
It is plastic.
Right. So when you pull on that tape, just like you saw Minnie do, what you're doing is what?
Stretching it.
You're stretching it out, and then once it's taped on there for such a long period of time, it starts to shrink back to its original size, and what happens?
You get leakage.
You get leakage, you lose your formation of the tape that it's supposed to be.
Yeah, you don't get that fine, crisp
That's
line.
right. So using this type of tape on this type of job is a no-no, because by the time you tape this off, that's the first step you have to do
Then
on
you have to
prepping
sand.
this. Then you got to come in there and sand it all up and prime it and paint it. By the time you're done, your blue tape is already stretched out, it's wrinkled and it's crinkly.
And it's coming loose in places.
Right,
and
okay, so
it's not a good thing.
don't use blue tape. Blue tape is out of the question when it comes to painting this type of a chrome item. What we are going to do though is we are going to use this tape right here. This is a masking tape. Tape is a good tape to have. It's a tool in your shop that you should always carry. I don't know how many times I've told people, and this is an 1.5-inch diameter tape. What are we going to do?
And it is specifically designed
For automotive refinishing.
You don't go to Lowe's and buy masking tape at Lowe's.
When you're working on automotive parts.
Yeah, don't do it.
Okay. So to take the hubcap off properly, what are we going to do it right? And why are we using this tape versus the plastic tape?
This tape doesn't shrink back.
Okay. So
And
when you stretch on it, it won't.
it won't shrink back. It adheres really well. It will leave you a good crisp line when you peel it back.
Okay, okay. So how are we going to apply that big piece of tape? I noticed you got an X-Acto knife here. Are we going to be using that?
Right, exactly. Got to have an X-Acto knife because you can, if you've ever taped off a car, you can stretch this tape some.
But it doesn't stretch easily.
But it does not stretch easily. You got to really pull on it.
And then what happens is, since this is not a stretchable tape, it starts wrinkling up and it starts getting crinkly.
Right. So, and that's the whole goal, is you don't want to stretch it.
And you don't get perfect, accurate, crisp lines.
Right. All you want to do is, when you're doing these hubcaps, is you want to take a small piece. And this is a tedious job, and that's just the way it has to be. And you lightly
Push it down on the,
the raised, because we're going to cover
on the raised part.
We're going to cover this lip here all the way around. So you lay it down nice and easy. Don't stick it all down. Just, you want it on the raised part only to begin with. Because you're going to lay this down without wrinkling it. You got to use your fingernails, and you don't have to have long ones either, but that's going to get your crisp line down here.
Now we haven't pushed the tape on there real tight yet, right?
Right.
Good.
And then once
And then once you get that, now I see some little air bubbles here. Are we gonna?
yeah, we're gonna.
Okay, I see now they're going away. Okay.
Yeah, once you get your fingernail in there, then with your finger, you push all the air out.
And then go back one more time with your fingernail.
See, and there's that air bubble there that we have to get out. Use your fingernail.
Now when you cut that off, that should take the air bubble out.
Right.
Okay.
Now that's going to be
Okay,
right
so
on the
you got
line,
the
so
outside,
that's
but
going
what
to be all
about the
right.
inside part? Because now you stretch the tape out. What's going on with the inside?
Start in the middle.
Oh, you're going to do the same thing because it's
Right.
loosely set on there.
Right, and you start in the middle and go to the edge one way, and then in the middle and go the other way. See?
Mm-hmm.
And then rub it to make sure you
I don't see any air bubbles right there.
don't have any.
As a matter of fact, when you rub that, I see the air bubbles are gone on the outside too.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's pretty common sense. The next thing Minnie's going to do is she's going to take that X-Acto knife.
Right. Now you.
Now, what's the most important thing when you're cutting that out? Are you going to do it one sweep across it, or are you gonna like just do a little bit at a time?
Okay, you want to do one smooth
You want to at
sweep,
least try to.
because if you picking it up is going to leave a little jagged edge,
Right.
and you don't want that because you want it to be very crisp when you pull the tape off.
One more thing I'd like to add to this, you want to do this in a very bright lidded place. Because
Yeah.
looking at these for a long period of time is going to make you go nauseous and dizzy, so
Right.
you want to be able to make sure you see that.
And another
Yes.
important thing too is you want to just do one section at a time. You don't want to place, multiple pieces where it's doubled up, because then it makes it really hard to cut if you're cutting through double layers of tape. If you're doing it like this and then putting another piece.
And then do
like,
everything at once. You want to do one
you-
section at a time.
Yes, you want to do one section at a time because you don't want to have to cut through 2 layers
And
of
another
tape.
thing about what Minnie's talking about, one section at a time, is if you do the 2 layers at a time, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to push harder on your blade, and that's going to give you more of a reason to accidentally either scratch the chrome or chip the chrome off.
Yeah, exactly, because you've got to have a light touch, but yet firm, because you don't want to dig into the chrome. That's not your goal, is to make a line in the chrome. It's just to cut
A
your
light,
tape.
just hard enough just to feel that you're cutting the tape.
Yeah. So you start here, and you can tell that you're cutting the tape.
So you can feel the tape through the tool you're using.
Right. Okay, as you can see, this was our first cut. You can see how clean and straight the lines are with the first cut. We've applied the second piece of tape. We've made sure to press down with our fingernail and our fingers on
It looks
the
like you
outside.
still got a little bit going. There you go.
Right here. Make sure everything is firmly adhered to the
And just
hubcap, and then
Repeat
you're
your
ready
process.
to cut.
all right, when we come back, Minnie, the body shop girl, will have all those taped off, and we're going to go into the painting process and the prep process, or should I say the prepping process and the painting process of painting our hubcaps, chrome at that, to match that factory OEM look that you're trying to achieve. We'll see you later, and we will be back. Okay, it looks like you got them all taped off. What are you doing now?
Now I'm just lightly scuffing with 180 dry.
So you're using 180 dry to scuff the chrome up.
And I'm just being
Now, is there anything special we need to know about scuffing that, or
no, you just want to make sure and get all the area.
what about like super close, as close as you can to that edge? So the
Yeah,
paint
well,
doesn't
that's
peel?
what I was going to say. I'm using DA paper. So
Okay,
what
why are you doing that?
it just seems to be a little more softer and flexible.
Uh-huh.
So I folded it in half, and I made sure and got it really good.
Right.
And then I creased it so that I could
Use the corners of the paper. Oh, I see what you're saying.
see, and then I can get really close like this.
Now, are you putting a lot of force on that to get that scuffed
No,
up? or-
not really, just lightly. And when you see that it's scratched, that's all you want. You don't need to,
So when I touch that, I can actually feel it with my fingernail. that
yeah, but it's a light thing. You don't need to really scrub it. I mean, because you just want the paint to stick is all.
it's, right.
So you just lightly
Is there
do
anything
it.
that we got to think about protecting our tape, or is it pretty much done?
Well, before I started, of course, I, made sure that I was stuck really good. And you want to make sure, see the way the tape is, this tape is on top of this one.
overlapped, right.
So you want to rub it this way, not this way, because that way it'll peel the tape back.
Right.
So that's the only thing you really want to make sure of. And then when you covered up your sides here, you want to make sure you didn't.
All the tape is overlapped real nice. We
Yeah.
don't get any overspray. or
Yeah,
anything.
and then over the back edge
Right.
too.
Right.
So it's simple, just time consuming. Pretty much took all freaking day.
All day to tape off four
Four
hubcaps. Huh. All right, as you can see, Minnie did a great job sanding those down with 180. You don't want to use anything thicker than that. But what we're going to do before we even start painting them is we're going to go around all the edges, make sure that everything is covered up like it should be. And Minnie did an awesome job, you can see that, but we still have to go around and make sure that there's no tape where no tape should be, and everything is covered so we don't get overspray on the rest of it. So what you want to do is you want to use the light, and you want to go around these edges, especially this one right here. This one here tends to give you optical illusions that it's right, but it's really not. And if I look right here, and I'm using the light to go around the edge, it looks like there's a piece of tape right there. Let's see, I don't know, that could be my imagination. And I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and go around it very carefully, and let's check it out and see what we got. Now that we got our hubcaps completely detailed out and completely cleaned and ready for paint, the next thing we want to do, we want to take some rubbing alcohol. We do not want to use wax and grease remover on this. We're just going to take rubbing alcohol, and then we'll go ahead and wet our rag down, and then we want to wipe very easily and carefully without pulling the tape off. And you can see right there what the alcohol is going to do for us. We don't want to use wax and grease remover. See what I'm talking about? Now that everything's prepped and ready, it's all cleaned off, it's ready to go. What we want to do next is start mixing our primers and our paints. Now, the primer that I'm going to use on these, and I suggested you do the same thing, is a self-etching chromate primer. Okay? And that means that it self-etches. It's got acids in it and chemicals that will adhere to the chrome itself, and also it will adhere to basically aluminum, bare metal, anything that you can think of. So the self-etching primer is what you want, and you want to make sure that you get the right hardener for that primer. And always read your directions on the cans, alright, to make sure that you measure it properly and everything is mixed properly. So I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that, and what's that telling us? That's telling us that it's a 50-50 mix. Because if you get 1 quart to 1 quart, that means 1 to 1. And if we look right there, you can see that's exactly what it means. So we're going to go ahead and get our little clips off of this and get this primer opened so we can mix it up. And you can see what it looks like. It's kind of a greenish yellowish color. So that's pretty much the normal for this type of primer. And always make sure that you mix it 100% before you mix the two chemicals together. So before we start spraying, I want to go ahead and go over some gun settings with you. On your spray gun, you want to go ahead and open that pattern up all the way. And then what you want to do is you want to close it approximately 1/4 to 1/2. On your volume, you basically do whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and close my volume down because the coats of this primer that we're putting on there is 1 coat. It's a 1 coat deal, and the coat that I'm going to put on it, I might put 2. It depends on how it sprays out, but the way that I'm going to put that on there is I'm going to put it on very, very thin. You don't want to put super thick coats on there like it's filler primer. You want to put thin layer coats, because if you don't paint it with thin coats to hide, that's all we're doing. We're painting it to cover. That's it. We're not putting 16 millimeters of metric paint here. We're putting like 0.6 millimeter metric fucking measurements of paint to make it super, super thin. So when we peel the tape off, you won't feel layers where the paint is. And another reason we're doing that is we want to be able to pull all this tape off without pulling the paint off. There's always that chance, and it could occur. hubcaps with our etch primer. You saw how I did that. I put a medium to fast wet coat on it. Then I went back and I put a very fast coat on it, and that did a nice cover job to it using my Seda spray gun. When you're painting these little parts right here, all right, if you don't have a small HVLP spray gun, I suggest that you go to your local big box corporation store and buy a cheap, inexpensive one, because this is one of the items that's going to give you that professional paint job that you're looking for. All right, Minnie the Body Shop Girl just showed up. Come on over here. You did an awesome job on these. Let me show you what we got. Took you, what, about a day and a half to get all this done?
Yeah, it was very meticulous.
Very meticulous, so you can count on at least a 2-day job to do it properly. Minnie's had a lot of experience on this. How does that look to you? Does it look like it laid down good? Does it look like the primer's going to stick and everything's going to...
It looks good to me.
All right. I was telling everybody not to put super thick coats of paint on it.
No, you don't
want to put real fast, wet coats.
Right.
And all we're doing is covering. That's it. We're just hiding the chrome.
That's right.
We're not actually literally painting a car like you would this thing right here. All we're doing is covering the chrome. The thinner the coat, the better it's going to look. Is that right?
Right. You want it to adhere.
And adhere. That's why we're using etching primer. Okay, as you can see right here, we got our hubcap, and we're ready to go ahead and remove our tape. Now the first thing you don't want to do is to start pulling your tape off. All right, now it's been a couple days. This is actually Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. We painted them on Friday, I believe. So we've let our hubcaps dry. They're dried really good. And we're going to go ahead and remove the tape off of the hubcap. So what you want to do is you want to get an X-Acto knife. Now, my other X-Acto knife, I don't know where it went. It must have walked away, but I'm sure it'll come home someday when I need it. It's hiding somewhere in my shop, so I had to go get another X-Acto knife. The trick to this is, though, is to use an X-Acto knife with a dull blade on it. Don't get an X-Acto knife that's got a brand new blade. You want to use a dull blade, because all we're going to do is we are going to cut through the tape line where the tape is. Okay, so we're just going to put even amount of pressure. All right, we're going to put even amount of pressure, and we're just going to ride that tape line all the way around very carefully, and keep our hand nice and steady. We're not going to get wobbly on it. And then we're going to just take the tape, or cut the tape right on the edge where we put it on. And you got to have pretty good light when you do this, because you want to be able to see the edge of the tape where the paint is. that's on top of the other tape, because we want to take this off in one sling. And when we pull that off, watch how I do this. I'm pulling away and out. I'm pulling away from the paint and out. You see how I'm doing that? All right. I don't want to pull toward the paint. I want to pull away from the paint. And then what we're going to do, we're going to repeat our process on the rest of the part where the tape is. We're just going to go ahead and ride that edge. Nice and slow, putting medium pressure on it. And then we're going to go ahead and get our centerpiece here. Do the same thing. Right in that corner. Right in the edge. And then we're going to grab a piece of tape that's on top, pulling it away from the paint and get it started. And then we're just going to lift right up in the center of this and pull it off easily. Grab it with our finger, pulling it straight up. Once again, look how I'm doing that. I'm pulling it straight up, right to where all the other tape meets. And then, before we go any further, we're going to go ahead and start another one. Using our X-Acto knife, watching that paint. Pulling it straight up. Remember, we already cut it. We've already cut through the paint. And then we'll get the third one going down. And then, as you can see, our hubcap is now painted and ready to install. Now, this was a single stage paint. What I'm going to do in a couple days, I'll come back with some 2000 and I'll scuff this down real lightly and then I'll hand polish it. I'll probably use 3000. It did get a little bit of trash in it, but I think we'll be okay and that'll turn out awesome. Sorry about my voice. I've been working very, very late hours, but I will hand polish that and make it look very, very nice and original. And one more thing I want to tell you about using single stage paint on this is if you do get some trash in that and it doesn't come out perfect, over time from wear and tear and washing it, this, that, and the other, whatever trash that's in it will disappear eventually. So there's our hubcap right there. This is how you do it. That's how it's done. And the trick is the zinc chromate primer, the self-etching chromate primer that we used. Not that this is chrome and the primer has the name chrome in it, but that it is a etching primer that will etch to it after you prep it up. This is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete, painting hubcaps. And to be honest with you, that's not even a big money maker job. So that's just one of them jobs where you want to help the guy out and make his car look factory original again. We'll see you later. Take it easy and good luck on all your jobs, work, exercise, life, and whatever you're doing to make everything better. Take it easy.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.